Hello beautiful people, my name is Winnie Luthien Tai. Welcome to my channel Plants and Such, where I share planty things, amazing spaces, makeovers, DIY, art, anything that brings me joy. Now if you like what you hear and you haven't subscribed yet, do consider subscribing to this channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm in fact a mixed media jewelry artist. And I love to work with wires. Now, I've been using bonsai wires to prop up my plants. So these are actually anodized aluminum wire. They're very easy to work with, very pliable. And I use them just to hold plants that are falling. I've done a video of my Alocasia mycolitziana, which I used these wires to hold the leaves together because they were growing really long and they were flopping all over. So I was thinking, how can I use these wires to make something a little bit more whimsical or a little bit more beautiful, just to decorate my plants or my pots a little bit more. This week, I've come up with 3 different projects using these wires, which I've enjoyed immensely. I love working with wires. I hope you enjoy it too. You caught me with my bachang. Anyway, I have some anodized aluminum wires, or what bonsai growers would use to train their bonsai with. Now, although this is quite a thick one, they are really pliable and easy to work with. I've cut out a length, and the first thing that I do is to file the edges smooth, so I don't get scratched while working with it. Because the wires are soft, they get scarred easily. I gathered that taping up the pliers with electrical tape would minimize the scarring on the wires when I work with it. I usually start with a curve. Somehow it automatically leads me into a flow. Everyone is different though. You have to make your own creative choices and find your own flow. Now I'm bending it into a hook because I know that I'm going to use this on a wall. I'm using the pot as a gauge for the circumference of the holder. And now I'm just going with the flow and let it take its course. Wait, eat bachang first. The electrical tape is actually too smooth. I keep slipping off the wire. I think next time I might try masking tape instead. Although there are special scratch-proof pliers that you can buy. So this is the end design. I'm quite happy with it. As you can see, it's not that difficult to do. Anyone can do this. Now this is an extra step. You can keep the holder as it is. It already looks beautiful. But I want to show you that with a bit of hammering in the right areas, you can change the dynamics of the curves. See, some areas are flat and some areas are still rounded. It gives the design a little bit more dimension. Time to put it up. Don't you think this adds a little extra whimsy to that air plant? And it's so simple to make. I love it. Wait, what? of maneuvering, you can actually turn this into a pot holder. And it looks just as cool. It's always good to start off with a rough sketch of the design if your motif is a little bit more complicated. But once you have an idea, the technique is basically the same, just twisting and bending the wires into the desired form. So this one is going to be quite a big piece as I intend to hang it amongst my plants in the balcony. Now I didn't realize that my camera actually shut off in the middle of making this. So a whole chunk of it is gone. But basically the techniques are the same. I've also hammered specific areas on the curves after I completed the design. The only thing I cannot decide is what to do with the end. I will decide on that later, I guess. But now I want to show you some basic wire wrapping which we use in jewelry making, as I want to add some jewels on the sun catcher. I have some 20 gauge copper wires which you can buy from any Ace Hardware. I've slipped it through a piece of glass chandelier, just like that. Using the round nose pliers, I cross the wires as such. You can see one long wire and one short wire. Holding the wire tight with my pliers, I'm wrapping the shorter wire around the longer wire. 3 times is my usual wrap. The excess is then snipped off. Flat pliers are used to flatten any excess wire that is protruding. Now I'm going to connect the crystal shard to the glass by putting it through the longer wire and then wrapping it over the initial wrap. Just like that. And now I have something that resembles an earring. I'm doing exactly the same to the other hole on the glass piece. The difference is, I now have to make something that resembles a pendant ring on the other end of the wire. To shape the ring, I use a pen. I wound it twice and then wrapped the excess wire to finish the piece. Now you can see what these rings are for. Gorgeous, isn't it? Crystals sparkle when the sun catches them. No way! Another pot holder with an attitude if the sun catcher is not your cup of tea. But for me, I love it just the way it is. This piece has 3 parts to it. This is the first part. Again, just go with your flow. Easy peasy. Now the second part is a little bit more complicated. I'm using a thinner 1.5 mm wire here. I'm going to speed up this process as it took a long time for me to make this. It's my first time making a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma leaf, so I was also winging it big time. You can see briefly here that it looks nothing like it. I realized that I have to get the angles and the points right to create the fenestration. I saw my friend making a huge monstera leaf out of wire, which led me to wanting to try a small Rhaphidophora leaf. Well, turned out harder than I thought. I'm using the round and flat pliers to create the kinks. The wire looks pretty bad by the end of it. Definitely need to do this with scratch-proof pliers. Second part completed. Hammering the wires not only create more dynamics to the design, it also hardens the wire. In metal work, the more you hammer, twist, bend, well, basically work the metal, the harder the metal gets. This is termed as work hardening. Now for the final part, I decided to bring out my metal stamps and a piece of leftover copper sheet. Now because the copper is 24 gauge, it's quite thin and can be cut with a pair of normal scissors. And copper is really soft too. In metalwork, the term gauge is the measurement of the thickness of the metal, be it wire or sheet metal. The bigger the number, the thinner the metal. So 24 gauge is pretty thin. Here I'm adding extra texture to the copper by hammering it lightly on the ball peen part of the hammer. By using ink, I'm adding depth to the letters. I also decided to ink the whole thing to create the vintage look, which I totally regretted later. Anyway, by sanding the upper layer of the metal, only the dips and letters will retain the ink. I already didn't like it here, but I decided to put the piece together and see how it looks as a whole. Okay, not good. To fix the problem, I have to remove the ink from the textured part of the metal, which can be easily done with rubbing alcohol, or in this case, hand sanitizer. Better. Notice that I've added a little jewel on the piece. Don't you think this whole package, the plant in a nice pot with a handmade tag, makes a perfect gift? Hey guys! Thank you so much for watching this week's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Now if you are inspired to do one of these projects, I would love to see them. Do give me a direct message on my Instagram. I will give you the link in the description box below. That's it for today. If you've enjoyed the video, do give me a big thumbs up and do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you again in the next video. Bye!